The ballroom of the Grand Seoul Hotel glittered beneath crystal chandeliers filled with billionaires, celebrities, and powerful families. At the center stood Kang Junho, Seoul's untouchable billionaire, dressed in a flawless black tuxedo. Beside him, his 8-year-old son, Min Jae, had barely spoken all evening. "Are you tired?" Junho asked. Min Jae shook his head. Then suddenly the boy released his father's hand and walked through the crowd. "Min Jae." He stopped. Slowly, he pointed toward a woman standing beside the catering table. She was black, dressed simply in a cream blouse and black trousers, her natural curls gathered neatly behind her. Her name was Ava Carter. She worked at the hotel. Junho frowned. "Do you know her?" Min Jae didn't answer. Instead, he stared at Ava with an expression that made her heart tighten. Then, loud enough for everyone to hear, he whispered, "Can she be my mom?" The ballroom went completely silent. Ava froze. Junho's face hardened. "Min Jae." But the boy pointed at Ava again. Her. Ava's heart raced. She had never met this child before. At least, that's what she believed. Junho walked quickly toward his son. "That's enough." Min Jae's eyes filled with tears. "But Dad..." "No." The boy lowered his head. Ava watched him, her heart softening despite herself. She crouched beside him. "Hey, what's your name?" "Min Jae." "That's a beautiful name." His lips trembled. "You're nice." Ava smiled faintly. "Thank you." Junho watched from several feet away, his expression unreadable. "I think he's upset," Ava said. "I can handle my son." The coldness in his voice made her stand. "Of course." She turned away. Then Min Jae reached for her. "Don't go." The ballroom fell silent again. Junho's jaw tightened. "We're leaving." Min Jae's voice cracked. "I don't want another woman." Junho froze. A glamorous woman named Seoyeon approached, forcing a polite smile. Junho, perhaps he's simply confused. Min Jae immediately stepped behind Ava. Seoyeon's smile vanished. Ava noticed. So did Junho. Something was wrong. This wasn't simply a lonely child asking for a mother. Min Jae was afraid of someone, and Ava had just become the only person he trusted enough to hide behind. The next morning, Ava returned to work hoping the embarrassment from the night before had disappeared. It hadn't. At 10:17 a.m., a black luxury sedan stopped outside the hotel. Junho stepped out. Min Jae followed. Ava nearly dropped the tray in her hands. "Miss Carter," Junho said calmly, "may I speak with you?" Inside a private lounge, Min Jae sat quietly on the sofa while Junho remained standing. "My son has become attached to you." "I noticed." "I don't know why." Ava glanced at the boy. "Maybe he needs someone to listen." Junho's jaw tightened. "He has therapists. That's not the same thing." Silence. Then, then Junho finally revealed the truth. His mother died 3 years ago. Ava's expression softened. "I didn't know." "Most people don't." He looked toward Min Jae. "After she died, he stopped speaking for almost 6 months." Ava's heart ached. "Why did he choose me?" Before Junho could answer, Min Jae spoke. "Because you smell like her." Ava froze. Mom used to smell like flowers. Then Min Jae pulled an old photograph from his backpack. Ava looked down. Her blood ran cold. The woman beside Junho wasn't a stranger. She was someone from Ava's own past, someone she thought was gone forever. Ava stared at the photograph, her fingers trembling. "Where did you get this?" "It was Mom's," Min Jae answered. Junho noticed her expression immediately. "You know her?" Ava swallowed hard. "Yes, how?" She looked at the photograph again. The woman smiling beside Junho was Maya Carter, Ava's older sister. Her sister had supposedly died 6 years ago. At least that was what Ava had been told. "Maya was my sister." Junho's expression changed. "What?" Ava explained that Maya had disappeared after leaving their hometown for Seoul. Her family had been told she died in an accident, but there had never been a body, never a funeral, only silence. Junho stared at the photograph. "She told me she had no family." Ava's eyes filled with tears. "She did." The room fell silent. Then Ava noticed something beneath Maya's chin, a small scar, exactly where she remembered it. She covered her mouth. Junho stepped closer. "Tell me everything you know." Ava looked directly at him. "I will." Her voice became firm. "But first, you need to understand something." She held up the photograph. "Someone lied to both of us." Samarika. Junho's investigation uncovered something disturbing. Maya hadn't died in an accident. Her car had been deliberately forced off the road. She survived, spent months recovering, and eventually gave birth to Min Jae. Then someone tried to erase her identity. The person behind it was Seoyeon's father. He had wanted Junho to marry his daughter after Maya's death, quietly manipulating evidence surrounding Maya's disappearance. But he had made one mistake. Maya left behind a recorded message. Ava and Junho watched it together. If you're watching this, something happened to me. Ava covered her mouth as Maya's tired face appeared on the screen. Junho, don't let anyone tell Min-jae that I abandoned him. Junho's eyes filled with tears. Then Maya looked directly into the camera. And Ava froze. If you're watching this, I'm sorry. Tears rolled down Ava's cheeks. You were always the strongest person I knew. The recording ended. Silence filled the room. Min-jae sat between them. Was Mom talking about you? Ava nodded through tears. Yes. Min-jae reached for her hand. Junho watched them quietly. For the first time, he wondered if Ava wasn't simply part of his son's healing. Maybe she was the person who could finally bring his broken family home. The truth couldn't stay hidden. Soon, rumors spread across Seoul accusing Ava of manipulating Min-jae for money. Anonymous posts appeared online. The hotel suspended her. Then came the humiliation. At a luxury charity event, So-yeon approached Ava in front of hundreds of guests. You should be ashamed. Ava remained silent. You entered this family because you saw an opportunity. So-yeon continued. Ava looked directly at her. I never entered your family. So-yeon smiled coldly. You think pretending to care about Min-jae makes you special? For months, Ava had swallowed insults to avoid creating problems for Junho. But not tonight. She stepped forward. No. Her voice was calm. I think caring about a child doesn't require permission from people who only care about appearances. The ballroom fell silent. Then the doors opened. Junho walked in. Every head turned. He crossed the room without hesitation. Not toward So-yeon, toward Ava. He stopped beside her. She is the only person in this room who has never asked me for anything. So-yeon's expression collapsed. Junho looked around the room. From today onward, anyone who attacks her will answer to me. Ava stared at him. For the first time, she saw more than the billionaire. She saw a man who had chosen her. Weeks later, the investigation became public. So-yeon's father faced legal consequences for helping conceal the truth about Maya. The accusations against Ava disappeared and her reputation was restored. But Ava still kept her distance from Junho. One evening, she stood alone on his penthouse balcony overlooking Seoul. You don't have to keep protecting me, she said. I know. Then why do you? Junho was silent. Finally, he answered, because I don't want to lose you. Ava turned slowly. You barely know me. I've spent enough time watching you. She gave a sad smile. That's not the same thing. No. He stepped closer. But I know how you treat my son. Ava's expression softened. I love him. The words escaped before she could stop them. She looked away. I care about him. I heard you. Before either could say more, footsteps approached. Min-jae appeared in the doorway. Are you two getting married? Ava nearly choked. Junho actually laughed. Min-jae smiled for the first time that evening, then he took both their hands. I already decided. Decided what? Ava asked. He grinned. You're my family. Ava's eyes filled with tears. Junho gently squeezed her hand. This time, she didn't pull away. 1 year later, the Grand Seoul Hotel hosted another charity gala. But everything had changed. Ava no longer stood beside the catering table. She entered the ballroom in an elegant ivory gown, her natural curls beautifully styled. Junho stood waiting. Min-jae stood between them. Everyone watched, not because Ava had married a billionaire, but because they remembered the woman they once dismissed. Junho reached for her hand. You look beautiful. Ava smiled. So do you. Min-jae rolled his eyes. You two are embarrassing. They laughed. Then the music began. Junho led Ava onto the dance floor. Do you remember the first time I saw you? He whispered. Unfortunately, he smiled. Min-jae pointed at you and asked if you could be his mom. Ava looked toward the boy. He knew before we did. Junho's expression softened. Yes, he looked at her. He knew you were home. Ava's eyes filled with tears. She had once believed her life would always be defined by loss. But sometimes life doesn't return what you lost. Sometimes it gives you something you never knew you needed. A family, a second chance, and a love that chose you publicly. Min-jae ran toward them and wrapped his arms around both. Ava closed her eyes. For the first time, she was finally home. If this story touched your heart, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And tell us, would you have said yes if you were Ava?